I mean, you're talking about it right now. You have to understand. So when you have certain teachers that come in and they say, you know, tighten your hips, keep your abs tight, get your glutes activated, you know, lock out your knees, point your feet, extend through your shoulders. Um, you're basically learning elements of line symmetry. You're learning aesthetics. None of that shit matters in these streak workouts. They flail all over the place. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not strong, because when I was down in Venice doing a performance with the Atlas brothers, I saw these guys. They were doing a shoot right there in the Muscle Beach pit, you know, where Arnold, the old guys, used to train right there. Well, I mean, you can see that they're big and they're strong and they're doing this stuff, but their form is dog shit.
Right.
They don't, and because it's not important to them. What is important to them is just showing off that they can do it.
Right.
But that's the quantifying difference. I mean, none of those guys are going to go into Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to look for that kind of stuff. And that doesn't mean that's not a judgment against them. It's just a school of thought, okay, that my teaching, and maybe because of the martial arts and because of people like Yuval Ayalon, who's come in and helped me with so much line work, everything that I do now is quality, and you know, the quantity part, it's necessary, but only at the state that you can, you know, 70 to 80% of the time, okay, 70 to 80% of the time, you have to have as good a form as you possibly can. That last 20 to 30%, that's kind of the overload part, and that's the gray matter in my world.
Sure.
But when, like a CrossFit or some of these workouts become all gray matter, then your expression physically becomes gray. You know, you actually look like, okay, you're strong and you're getting swept up. And here's another thing. You see the same age groups of people doing the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
My students go all the way up to 70 years of age. And there's a reason for that, because the protocol is thought of, you know, we think about the protocol. We're talking about, I understand the aged athlete, the aged adult. Because I went and I studied sports medicine, I probably have a little bit more care than what goes on, instead of just showing people and throwing them in the gauntlet.
Right.
There is a giant gap in the quality of control that goes into the protocol between some 20-year-old kid who's a super stud athlete telling the world, including people that are 50 and 60 years old, that they need to be doing, you know, the workout that they would do, or somebody that's a beginner, but that's a beginner for their age. And I mean, Jesus Christ, these people have, you know, early signs of spinal degeneration. They've got, you know, probably symptoms of sciatica. They've got bad shoulders, their rotator cuff strength. No one's done any mobility assessment on these people. So this is, you know, this is why, honestly, personally, I don't worry about these people. Not in my field, because when people seek me out, there's a reason they seek Steve Atlas out and not go down to the park and just flail around with the rest of the guys.
It speaks volumes, though, to just trends coming into the public eye and just making everybody think they're the best, next best thing. You know, like, I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of sick of, like, Tabata intervals are the best thing for fat loss, and, you know, X is the best thing for this, and X is the best thing for that. Not realizing that, like you said in the beginning, everybody's going to have their own journey, right? And they're going to have their own journey based upon what their goals are, the amount of effort they're willing to put into it. And what are you laughing about?
No. It's you do. You have people that, like, there is a group of people like the Tabatas movement, which I just did an arm routine to a Tabata's protocol that I laid out for myself. This was not influenced by anyone else.
Sure.
And there's parts of it that I like, but it's in context, meaning I'm not going to use that all the time.
Right.
I'm not even going to use it often. I mean, it's going to be something that I'll pull out to shock my system, but that I go back to some more of, in my world, some more of the conventional protocols. But you do have people that are stuck. I know people that can't get around thinking that, you know, kettlebells are it. And kettlebells are great. They are, but fuck, it's not the Holy Grail.
Steve, they are the Holy Grail. Wait.
No, here's my basic philosophy, and this is what this is where culturally I was backwards in the physical realm, and I'm going on live to admit this. I grew up where we learned how to lift weights, right? Because Arnold Schwarzenegger was the most influential figure in my youth and childhood.
Right.
And so I asked my father, I said, how do you look like that? Well, you got to lift weights and everything. So that became the career path that I wanted to go down, at least from the lifting weight standpoint. Um, okay, as I've aged and as I've become a little bit more aware, I've realized that what good is it to learn how to lift weights when you can't first coordinate your body?
Right.
So it's reversed. So I'm not opposed to becoming very efficient in dumbbells, kettlebells, club bells. I don't care what bell you want to use. Um, so long as there's some level of proficiency, knowing and understanding and manipulating how to use your body efficiently. So your body first, it makes sense, like your core first, out,
Right.
then you work everything else. I learned backwards. I had no coordination in some of those things, and I went backwards. And as a result, had a lot of injuries along the way because superficial muscles got a lot stronger than some of those intrinsic structures. And, I just didn't have a lot of understanding. We've evolved, better teachers coming down the line, and hopefully, I approach movement with a level of humility, man. I mean, especially at this stage, it's just, you go into a brand new movement and people face me with challenges all the time. Hey, Steve, can you do this? Well, I could, but that would mean I'd have to take energy and time away from what I'm already doing
Right.
to make you happy. Not me, make you happy. And you're not paying me. So, I'm going to, you got to follow your own bliss too.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true, man. I love that. Well, there's a final question I like to ask everybody. And you got a successful movement practice there. You're obviously very successful in your own physical practice. What's your secret to success, Steve?
Boy, I think just being honest with who you are without compromising your dreams of really what you wanted. If you were to tell me even a few years ago that I was going to have this beautiful Zen-like facility that I'm in right now, the secret of success is different for everybody, which is why everyone rises and they have their own story. I just have not compromised, in my, for better or worse, in my families and my friends. Sometimes I've offended people that are very close to me, to get to where I am now. But the people that are the closest to you will always stay with you. And those are people that need to be treated like gold. You don't listen to the naysayers. You don't, you don't take unnecessary risks, but you have to take risks. And sometimes you really have to put yourself out there and not be afraid to fail. You just can't be afraid to fail. Sometimes you get paralyzed because you think, what happens if I fall on my face? You know what? Fall on your face. Because here's the thing about balance, in the literal sense of an element of handstand or in life, that without learning when you're off balance, you'll never know what balance is. So you have to be willing to fail in order to be willing to succeed. So that's kind of in a nutshell, man.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Steve Atlas, I really appreciate you taking the time today, man, and getting on the call and sharing your wisdom with us.
Very welcome.